2 battles may be down, but there's still many more to go. This is episode 3 of Disneyland Battlegrounds. Well, we meet again, Iron Man. Oh yeah, Captain America. Nice to see you. I mean, not so nice to see you again. Hey, look at me. I've got a new Iron Man suit on. Hey, look, I got an upgrade of my shield. Oh, you want to talk about upgrades? Hang on 1 second. Boom! What do you think of me now, Cap? Hold on, I'll get some backup. Boom! Now I've got Falcon. Oh, you want to get some backup, huh? Hold on 1 second. Here's Vision. Here's Black Panther. Here's Ant-Man. Who do you have? I got Black Widow and, there's no other Disney Infinity characters that I have on my team, so I think I'm outnumbered. Oh yeah, I've also got Hawkeye and Spider-Man, of course. I think I've totally beaten you on this one. Hey guys, how's it going? Shaun Allen here. Got a little carried away with my toys. Hey, how's it going? Time for another Disneyland Battlegrounds. Yes, as you can probably guess from today's episode, or the title of this episode, this is between the Mark Twain Riverboat and the sailing ship Columbia. It's not about Civil War or any of the Marvel stuff, but, yeah, well, that's kind of embarrassing. Alright, let's get this party started. Let's start off with the Mark Twain, or what was originally known as the Mark Twain Steamboat. It is a 5/8 scale riverboat that goes all the way around the rivers of America, because that's really how far it can go. It's located in Frontierland and goes past many different attractions, including Pirates of the Caribbean, Splash Mountain, the Haunted Mansion, and of course, Tom Sawyer or Pirate's Lair. It also sees historical scenes like the Indian Camp, the Rio Grande, and yeah, many other different places. What I have here is a map of rivers of America, and the different rivers that you can travel along on the Mark Twain are the Mississippi River, the Columbia River, the Potomac, and the Rio Grande. Now this is some very interesting history, but the Mark Twain River... Now here's some interesting history. It was around the early late 1800s when they stopped making the riverboats. However, 50 years later, they built the Mark Twain Riverboat. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting, right? What does the boiler use? Well, it used biodiesel fuel. Yeah, that's diesel. Now, I'm pretty sure you didn't know about this, but the Mark Twain actually runs on a track. You can't see the track because the water is dyed green. And I'm pretty sure you've seen the water and seen it green and be like, ugh, yeah, that doesn't look like pleasant water. It looks dirty. Actually, it's pretty clean. It's just dyed that way. And the reason why it's dyed is because they don't want you to see the track down there. When the attraction first opened in 1955, they didn't really have a capacity level in terms of how many guests can ride the Mark Twain. And there were even a couple of times where it almost tipped over, and there was one incident where it actually ran aground because there were just too many people, like 500. So they had to cut the maximum number of people on board the Mark Twain to 300. Which still seems like a lot of people. But, yeah. I don't think I wanted to see the Mark Twain tip over. In fact, if you watch the riverboat and the very first images of it sailing through the rivers of America when it first opened in 1955, it looks like it's leaning over. Yikes. Not only is it called a riverboat, but it's also known as a paddle wheeler because it's got a paddle in the back. Alright, now let's move on to the sailing ship Columbia, which opened in June 14th, 1958. If you ever got a chance to see the Columbia, you could check out the quarters down below. That actually didn't open up until 1964. So the ship has 3 different masts, and I'm going to read these off because I want to make sure I'm saying these correctly. There's the foremast, which is the bow, the main mast, which is the one that's in the middle, the one that's the tallest, and also the mizzen mast, which is the stern. Oh, this is something I forgot to mention, but the Mark Twain and the sailing ship Columbia are both used in Fantasmic. The sailing ship Columbia is used as Captain Hook's pirate ship, and the Mark Twain is used for the very end of the show. So the Columbia is supposed to be a replica of the original sailing ship Columbia. What's so specific about this ship? Well, it happens to be the first American ship to travel around the world via sea, or the ocean, basically. What's really cool is that during your voyage around rivers of America on the Columbia, they activate one of the cannons right there on the ship. It's to basically scare off any scurvy pirates on the Tom Sawyer Island or Pirate's Lair. Originally, that used to be just for a sign of greeting or a friendly shot, not one to scare people, but now it's to scare pirates. Now, the Columbia had a very scary incident that happened on December 24th, 1998. Yeah, we're like talking a day before Christmas. The ship used to be tied down to a cleat that was used on the dock. Well, believe it or not, the cleat got loose and it was shot into the audience, and some people got injured. Unfortunately, one of the people that got injured passed away due to basically brain damage and failure, and kind of a sad story. Even a cast member was injured. I know that that's a bit of a sad story, but, you know, it's interesting information that I think, you know, you should know about, because I kind of remembered that incident a while back when that happened, so it was big news at the time. And I remember a few years later than the incident with Big Thunder Mountain when the train derailed. That was another scary incident. We'll get into that if we talk about the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. But, yeah, I don't think anything else happened with Rivers of America, like with the Mark Twain Riverboat, other than just running aground, almost tipping over. So, yeah, but still, sad story. Alright, I think we have enough information about the Mark Twain Riverboat and the sailing ship Columbia. Now, let the battle begin. Let's start off, of course, with wait times. So how long does it take for you to get on the attraction? Well, if one vessel is on the river, then it probably takes about 10 to 15 minutes. If there's two, if they're both on the river, then it's probably going to take about maybe 7 to 8 minutes. So basically, this is the exact same wait time for both attractions. So I think this is a tie. So we're going to give each attraction 0.5 points. Seriously, we're doing a point for location? Well, it's kind of obvious. We kind of said it already in the video. A tie, basically, again. 0.5 points for each one. So how many guests can board each attraction? Well, for the Mark Twain Riverboat, it's a maximum of 300. And believe it or not, it's the same number for the sailing ship Columbia. Another tie. Yikes. This is going to be a very close race. I mean, battle. "12 minutes for each one, since they're both on the Rivers of America. They go the exact same speed. Another tie. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you're wondering when I was going to get to this part. So, here we go. For the sailing ship Columbia, unfortunately, you cannot actually drive the boat. It has to be done by the operator or whoever's doing it right there on the ship, the cast member. But when you get on board the Mark Twain Riverboat, if you ask them very nicely, they can take you up to the wheelhouse where you can drive the Mark Twain right there at the very top of the Mark Twain Riverboat. And at the very end of the attraction, not only will you get to sign the special notebook that's up there in the wheelhouse, but you get to take home a special certificate. This is a pilot certificate from the Mark Twain Riverboat. And it says, "Given under my hand this, let's see here, 29th day of April 2013, Walt Disney, my name." I'm pretty sure these are copies of Walt Disney's signature. But yes, you can get one of these on the Mark Twain Riverboat. I'm not so sure if they are handing these out now because the Mark Twain is closed because of the construction on the Rivers of America and Star Wars Land, but in a few years from now, if you're watching this when everything's back open, then you can probably start getting these again. So, yeah. If you want to see my experience on the Mark Twain Riverboat when I actually got this, be sure to check out the picture or the image that just popped up on the screen, and you can watch my episode about the Mark Twain Riverboat when it was open. So, yeah. Cool. Oh, so that means we are going to give a point to the Mark Twain because you can get a special certificate at the very end of the ride. That is if you're on the wheelhouse. Okay, so are there any different versions of these attractions? Well, for the sailing ship Columbia, it's specifically for Disneyland. So if you want to see the Columbia, you have to see it only at Disneyland. It's not at Walt Disney World or Disneyland Tokyo or Paris or, one of these other Disney parks. However, you can see the Mark Twain Riverboat in different variations at Walt Disney World, the Magic Kingdom. Let's see where else. Tokyo Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. So, yeah, they actually replicated the Mark Twain for, I believe it was for Disneyland Paris, but they have different riverboats for Walt Disney World and for Tokyo Disneyland. So, yeah, they're different versions of the Mark Twain and the Rivers of America. So, that point goes to the Mark Twain Riverboat. I must emphasize that this is strictly for the Fantasmic version for Disneyland. This is not relating to the one in Walt Disney World, because I know they have a steamboat there, but that's supposed to be the steamboat from Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse's first cartoon. And it's completely different, it's a lot smaller. But yes, both of these attractions are in Fantasmic. So, again, this is between the Mark Twain and the Sailing Ship Columbia, and they're both in Fantasmic, so we have another tie. Seems to me like we've been getting a lot of ties for this episode. Good grief. Alright, so what about the opening days as to when these attractions first started operation? Well, for the Sailing Ship Columbia, it started in, what was it, June 14th, 1958, whereas the Mark Twain Riverboat actually started day one of Disneyland, which was July 17th, 1955. So the Columbia just missed that mark by 3 years. And the reason why, if you remember from what I mentioned in the video, is because the reason why the Columbia was on the Rivers of America 3 years later is because Walt Disney wanted more attractions on the river. So the oldest attraction is the Mark Twain Riverboat. Yep, it's been with us for about 60 years. No, actually, not about. It has been with us for 60 years. So there you go. Another point for the Mark Twain Riverboat. Okay, this is an easy one. The Mark Twain Riverboat doesn't have cannons, but the Sailing Ship Columbia does. The Columbia gets that point. Easy point. Okay, I'm not sure if my exact dimensions are correct here. This sounds pretty ridiculous, but for the Mark Twain Riverboat, it's only 105 feet long. Whereas the Sailing Ship Columbia, I looked this one up, and it says it's 2,410 feet. That to me sounds, it sounds gigantic, okay? I don't know if that's the exact length of the Columbia, but obviously it's a lot bigger than the Mark Twain Riverboat, so the Columbia gets that point too. But I might have to research that one more, because that to me doesn't sound accurate. But if it is, then yikes. So where were these ships built? Well, believe it or not, but most of the Mark Twain and Sailing Ship Columbia were built at Todd's Shipyard. And I believe it's in Santa Barbara, California. Yeah, so both these ships were at the same docks for construction. Wow. Another tie! Did you hear that? I don't know if the camera picked that up. Alright, it is now time to give these ships some extra credit, because these I can't really put into any category, so I'm just going to go ahead and give the ship some extra credit, because obviously I'm running out of ideas to give points to each attraction. So here we go. So here's what I have for extra credit for the Mark Twain Riverboat. So on the maiden voyage of the Mark Twain Riverboat, on board was Walt and Lillian Disney, and they were celebrating their 30th anniversary. Aww. And this is actually very interesting, but back in the day, you used to actually be able to purchase mint julep on the ship. I didn't even believe that at first, but it's like, it was actually true. The reason why it's no longer being sold on the Mark Twain is because, once they were done with the cups, the customers, they tossed them overboard into the Rivers of America, and there was an issue of bathrooms on board the Mark Twain, so you can probably guess where they went, when they had to go. Yep, into the Rivers of America. Bad. So another interesting extra credit I wanted to give the Mark Twain was that it was christened by actress Irene Dunn with water from America's major rivers. And you can actually see the video of her christening the Mark Twain on YouTube. It's like grand opening of Disneyland, and she said originally that she was having a very hard time breaking the bottle. And last but not least, this is a very interesting and historical fact, but the Mark Twain Riverboat was the first steamboat, the first functional steamboat built in 50 years. That means 1900s. They had stopped completely making, basically stopped production of steamboats. It wasn't until 50 years later that they actually built the Mark Twain Riverboat, which is pretty impressive, I'd say. Now, extra credit for the sailing ship Columbia. Here we go. It was used during the opening of Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride, not the movie. If you actually watch the opening ceremony of Pirates of the Caribbean, you can see them celebrating, like taking over the ship and putting a pirate flag. It's on the DVD of Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, if you guys have that one. It also has a nautical museum down in the undersection of the boat that you can go and check out. It was christened by Gretchen Campbell Richmond, wife of Alfred Richmond, who was at that time the Commandant of the United States Coast Guard. And this is actually very interesting, but there's a silver dollar under each mast placed by Walt Disney himself. So basically, the mast poles that are there on the Mark Twain, underneath each one of them, there's a silver dollar. There's 3 of them. They were all placed by Walt Disney. So how many extra credits is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so both of these attractions get 4 points each for extra credit. So there you go. There's some easy points right there. Wow. That was a close battle. I think this is probably going to be the closest battle we'll ever see in this series. Although I don't know for sure. But it was very close. But obviously, the winner in this case was the Mark Twain Riverboat. Sailing Ship Columbia is cool, but nothing can come close to the Mark Twain Riverboat because it's a Disneyland original. So is the Sailing Ship Columbia, but the Mark Twain Riverboat, again, was one of the very first attractions at Disneyland, and it started operation back in 1955 when it opened. And a lot of people enjoy it. A lot of historical facts have been, made about this attraction. Very amazing ships. And if you've never seen the Mark Twain Riverboat, go and check it out. If you haven't seen the Columbia, go and check it out. Again, I have videos about the Sailing Ship Columbia and the Mark Twain Riverboat, and that's all for this battle, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you thought this battle was fair, and even if you liked this video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, favorite it, and share your friends. And of course, subscribe to my channel, the Disneyland Video Series. It's greatly appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to find out when a new video will be uploaded onto YouTube. You can also find out if when a new video is uploaded when you subscribe to my channel. Also, be sure to check out... Oh, I already mentioned that, so never mind. Also, be sure to check out my other previous episodes of Mealtime at Disneyland, my previous ride reviews, my previous vlogs, my special events, and, of course, the previous 2 episodes of the Disneyland Battlegrounds. The first episode was about the Haunted Mansion versus the... Oh, my word, what was it? The Tower of Terror? I can't even remember my own videos. Yikes. The second episode was about the Disneyland Railroad and the Disneyland Monorail. And obviously this one was about the Mark Twain Riverboat and the Sailing Ship Columbia. In the next episode of Disneyland Battlegrounds, it's going to be between Space Mountain and the Matterhorn. I finally decided to do that. I think it's a fair fight, and I'm sticking to it. So be sure to check out that episode, episode 4, when that comes out. And that's pretty much it. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time here on the Disneyland Video Series. And I hope your day was a magical one. Bye-bye!